So here we are, welcome back to the channel guys, and as you can see I have two bowls on the floor. Now these are just trick or treat bowls, they were the cheapest ones I could find, and I'm also using a spray bottle. Now the magic ingredients is water. Now I know what you're thinking, why are you using water? Expanding foam doesn't stick to water. Well, that's where you're wrong, because it does. It's the actual activator of the resin in the foam, and it will help the foam form a skin on the inside of the bowl, so it should make it easier to come out. But there is a knack to doing this, so you have to bear that in mind when you're doing this, and you have to allow yourself enough time to do this as well, because expanding foam, it can be a very messy job. But if you're doing it right, you shouldn't need to use the gloves. After I'd done this, I did actually get quite a bit on my little fingers, because you'll probably see in a minute why that is, because this actual first attempt is wrong. This is my first attempt at making pumpkins. So most expanding foam that comes in a can, it's got like this thing attached to the trigger, so you have to remove that, and it's best to give the can a good shake before you use it. And you also use it upside down, and you need to control the amount of foam that's coming out. There you go, it's no gaps foam, pretty much bog standard expanding foam. Read the instructions on the tin first as well, it's a good idea, and then all you do is turn it upside down and use the trigger. Now you're probably going to see me doing like a circular motion inside the bowl, and some would say, oh, why don't you just come up through the top in horizontal things? Because that's not what we're doing. We need strong pumpkins, and I'm just making a little circle spiraling all the way around. Now this is a little bit thick, but again, this is my first attempt, and you have to get used to using the trigger, because the expanding foam will expand 20-30 times the size of what is coming out of the can at, and it starts expanding immediately as soon as you're releasing it from the can. But there you can see the general idea is just to fill the inside of the bowl, and you're basically making an expanding foam bowl now. So again, doing it, you need two bowls to do this minimum, because what you're actually doing is going to make two halves of a ball shape basically out of expanding foam. So once you have two bowls and you're doing this, you should be able to leave them for around 5 to 10 minutes before you start handling them, and you're going to see the big mistake I made with these in a minute, and that is prattling about with them before they'd set, because I was a little bit impatient. Now, well, when I say I was impatient, I basically set my timer on my phone for 5 minutes, thinking, oh well, we'll use it for 5 minutes then. Now you can probably see as well, I have a plastic bag which I'm making some hands and some feet for another project that I'm doing, and I'm just using what's left in the can now to keep the foam flowing, because I don't want it setting in the nozzle, and then I'll start another can to do the other bits. So yeah, that's what I'm doing here. So what we'll do is fast forward the video, start another can to do the other bits. So yeah, that's what I'm doing here. So what we'll do is fast forward the video. So I hope you enjoyed the speeded up version. You can see me making other stuff on the black thing there, and here I am getting a little bit impatient with this, and I'm starting to push it with my fingers and everything. Now usually when you push it with your fingers, it'll stick to your fingers a little bit, and that means it's not ready. So what I keep doing is squirting it with water, and it does help a little bit, to help it set. But these two came out far too soon, and I realised once I started pulling at them and trying to get them out of the bowls that they was just completely wrong, because I literally gave them 5 minutes and they needed at least 10. But this is how you have to gauge the whole experience of making things like this, because what basically happens is you make mistakes, and unfortunately it happens, and this is how you learn by your mistakes. I tried to flip it over to the other side of the bowl and make them good, but it just didn't work. They turned into pancakes and they turned into pizza bases. So I basically started again. So when I cleaned the bowls out, I basically did the same thing again. I used the water to line the bowls, and then I basically used the same expanding foam that I used before, and I ran it round a lot thinner. So I let the trigger, I didn't press the trigger as hard as I did before, because in the day I'm in building trade, so we normally just fire expanding foam straight in. Now I did find another bowl. I remember we had a trick-or-treating bowl. So here what we're doing is starting production line, because now I've had a practice. I feel a bit more confident with the gun, and again I'm making other things on the thing with the foam that's left in the can. So one of the things I did make is some skulls as well. I used a skull that I had, that I bought from a shop, and then I used a plastic milk carton bottle, which I used to form a mold for a expanding foam skull, and that was quite an interesting thing to do. So you can see me still prattling about with the mistakes that I made, and you see I get a bit fed up, and they're just not working, them two, at all. Like I said, I realised I'd made a mistake, so I left the other two when I restarted them in the bowls a lot longer. Like I said, at least 10 minutes, and started making other things. So if you are doing this, it's probably a good idea to, like I said, be a bit more patient than I have, and I'm just doing other things to pass a bit of time on. And like I said, I'm making a skull, and basically I just heat up the plastic around the skull and start moulding it around the skull, and this just gives me another mould to make expanding foam skulls out of. uh, Obviously using a damp cloth, which is with cold water, stops you burning your fingers, and you can make a basic shape of a skull with this kind of plastic. It's just like heat moulding, really. But whilst I was doing that, obviously I found that passing the time on relieved the impatience a little bit, and I was able to bring them out of the bowls quite easily, and then flip the bowl over and mould them round the bowl the opposite way around. Again, spraying it with water. Don't forget to use your water on it, because again that helps it cure the foam. And once you've got it to the point where you can touch it with your hands without it sticking to your hands, this is when you can start playing around with it. It becomes more like a marshmallow than a foam, and you can basically work the air out of the foam a little bit. So if you imagine when expanding foam's expanding, it's full of little air bubbles inside and everything, air pockets, and you can pat them out, and you can basically make sure it forms like a nice structure for whatever you're moulding out of it. Um, like I said, I did start a production line here, and I basically I'm making 3 pumpkins. So once I'd got a couple of dome shapes ready, I was able to offer them up together. They've now hardened enough to be stuck together. And again, all you do is use your expanding foam to create a seal between them. And like I said, I'm doing other things while I'm getting my production line going. So all I'm doing is constantly making the dome shapes inside the bowls, waiting for them to set, and then carrying on doing something else. Because obviously it's down to time, and again, if you're only making one, then you have to be a bit more patient. You should be able to reuse the can that you've got, but like I said, it sometimes sets really hard in the nozzles, so it makes it harder for it to come out. But yeah, it should be okay in a lot of senses. But I just kept the foam working because I actually bought a bulk deal of foam off eBay, around £20 for 12 cans, and it worked a treat for me on this occasion. So what happens when you've stuck them together is you start doing the horizontal forming, so you start making lines down across the seam and to the bottom. Now you can basically do that and make a flat bottom, so your pumpkin sits flat anyway, so you don't really need to go all the way to the bottom in some respects. You just use the foam, and again controlling how much is coming out, and again I'm just using it whatever's left in the can to do it as well, so that I'm not wasting any foam. And again, using water to help it cure quicker. You can use your fingers to um, mold it a little bit as it's setting. And like I said, I got a right production line going here. So once you've got your basic shape of your balls for the pumpkins, like I say, you do your horizontal lines and it helps stick them together. So these pumpkins will be quite thick once it's all set. So it does make a substantially solid prop. I mean, it's not like what you would buy in the shop. You won't find this in the shop at all. So like I say, once you've got your pumpkins made, it's just a case of letting them set, and then you'll be ready for painting. Um, and doing your best with the foaming. I mean, it takes a bit of practice and a little bit of confidence. So, like I said, you just have to be patient with it. So, we'll be on with the painting next once we've got all this lot done. So, you didn't see me paint these pumpkins, but basically all I've done is picked up some orange matte emulsion, which is for walls and ceilings. It's a cheap emulsion, it's not an expensive one, but it was a damn sight cheaper than paying loads of money for spray cans and everything. And all I've done is basically filled in as much as I can and basically just painted the area. Now, as you can see, I've darkened this one up substantially, and I've done that with a blow lamp. I'm going to show you what I did. So once you've got it painted and it's all dry, you need to paint the top bit there. I am using a blow lamp here, a blow torch, and this is where it gets a little bit dangerous, so if you're not proficient with a blow torch, please don't use that. But you can spray them as well. I'll just show you another idea. So I have a black spray. So I have a black spray here, and basically just do that. Just to give it a bit of a dark look, gives it a bit of a matted up. And now to do the eyes, you just like that, and it just give it a little bit of an effect. It's a bit of a windy day today, so it's not the best for spraying. But there you go, it just gives it a bit of an effect, does that. But you can also direct the spray a little bit into the areas that you need to. So that's one of my pumpkins sorted out, but I'm going to show you what I did to carve it out. So basically I just picked a side that would look like a face, the best side, so I'm going to use this side on this one. I use one of these, so all I'm doing is going for basically a standard eye, so I'm just going to cut an eye shape out. I'm going to put a little bit of a point on it so it's like a teardrop. Now, to give you an idea of how thick this is now, so there you go, that's how thick your foam is. I'm going to put a bit of space between the eyes. So this is exactly the same way as you would carve a normal pumpkin, really. These are what I call teardrop eyes. And then he's got a bit of a slant on, so I'm going to put a bit of a nose in. Put a big nose in. Like that. So he's got a big nose, and we're just going to do a bit of a pointy, cheeky smile, I think. Push it through like that. So, how do I torch them? Quite simple, really. So, this is dangerous, so just lit it. It's a bit windy, like I said. What we're doing is we're actually setting fire to the foam, which might sound a bit silly. It's also quite toxic, so like I say, it's very windy today, so it's not the best day to do this. So we just let the flames come out. Because what you want it to do, it starts smoking the edge, basically. That one went a bit far, but it's just getting a bit windy. There you go, you get the idea. I say it's quite a dangerous way of doing it, but it does kind of give you the effect of charred edges, which is exactly what it's doing. It's burning the foam, and it does kind of yellow it as well a little bit, which is what the inside of a pumpkin will be. So there you go, there's that pizza base, by the way, that went wrong. I used it to mount that one to it, so he's got something to sit on. These ones are quite flat anyway, but yeah, there you get the idea. So when we get these set out on Halloween, they'll be pegged down obviously because it's windy, and I'm going to set them out so we've got nice. So obviously once you've got this bit sorted out and got your final finishing touches done to it, set of lights from Amazon, and this is where I bought them from. Just simply run battery operated ones. Now these do have a timer function, and basically what you do is when you press the timer on, I believe they stay on about 6 hours from that point and switch off after 6 hours automatically. So you need to time it from when you want them to come on as part of your display, for instance, and then they will go off and then come back on again at the same time. But that being said, all you need to do is basically feed the pumpkin if you want, put it inside, put the lights inside, and it will basically glow like that. I mean, you could get creative and just have the lights hanging around. There you can just shove them all inside. It gives it a nice bit of a glow. You don't have to use orange lights. I decided to use the orange ones to give you a little bit of effect. There you go. That's the pumpkin there. So like I said, I hope you enjoyed the video and got something out of it. Fairly simple project to do with expanding foam, a bit of time, bit of paint, and a little bit of artistic creativeness, and you can create your own pumpkin. They're all different when you make them, obviously, because you can't really control very well how expanding foam expands, but that gives you a good effect. It gives you quite a decent pumpkin shape and pumpkin look to it, and you can be creative with your face. So that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. We'll do a few more videos with Halloween stuff, and thanks for watching, guys.